erupted earlier on Friday in the heart of the Fashion District after ICE detained employees inside a clothing warehouse. Protesters threw objects at armed agents and then tried to block their armored trucks from leaving.
I'm from outer space. I got Milky Way for blood, evolution in my veins. I'm gone, I've been far away. I'm illuminated now, make a move, start a waves. I've been dreaming about flying for a long time. I had a vision from the first they want to go sign. Artificially.
How's everybody doing? Positive and productive, I hope. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sticking with me. Hey, do me a favor and share this content with friends, family, anybody you think the content is relevant to. Remember, local elections are more important than national elections, but dollars are stronger than votes. They won't stop until we stop them. Liberation comes at a cost. Who's willing to pay for it? So, ladies and gentlemen, jumping into this really quickly, last night we had, and then spilling over into the morning, we had immigration protests last night in Los Angeles after basically what happened is that ICE was called to provide security to the federal building while immigrants were being transported either to deportation sites and or also being incarcerated and then taken to the federal building to be held for deportation. So let's watch a little bit of this, ladies and gentlemen, and then we're going to respond to it. And I'm just going to tell you what I think about the whole situation.
Violent clashes between immigration advocates and ICE agents caused a day and night of chaos in LA.
ICE raids in the Fashion District sparked that outrage. KCAL News reporter Elise Martinez is live in the newsroom. And Elise, it was a disturbing scene well into the night, even going into the early morning.
Good morning. Yes, the series of surprise immigration sweeps throughout LA prompted a fierce pushback from local leaders, immigration groups, and demonstrators, and those protests continued early into the morning hours. This was the scene in Chinatown early this morning. You can see crowds confronting federal agents as several flashbang grenades went off. Several of the armored vehicles were also vandalized with graffiti. Congressman Jimmy Gomez telling us that he came from Washington, D.C. to observe what was happening. He says he was told that the FBI and federal agents were staging there to provide security for the federal building where people are believed to be detained. He asked them to leave in order to defuse the situation, and here's what else he had to tell us.
You know, this all started with Donald Trump saying he was going after criminals. What I've heard today that he went after kids, parents when they're attending their kids' graduations, people that were working in the Fashion District, people that showed up, people who had asylum, received asylum, were going through the process, showed up to court like they've done over and over, and were taken to the basement and arrested.
Well, see, that's the thing. They actually are criminals. So he's saying that this started with Donald Trump saying he was going to go after criminals. Well, here's the thing. Coming into the country illegally is a crime. So technically you are a criminal. And then people say, oh, well, it's just an infraction. It's just a this, it's just a that. Okay, running a stop sign is a crime. It's not a misdemeanor. It's not a felony, but it's still an infraction. Playing my music too loud past city ordinance is not a crime, but it's still an infraction. It is still illegal. It is not something that is permissible. So when we start talking about people being criminals, no, maybe the majority of these people are not murderers. Maybe the majority of these people don't commit heinous felonies or felonious acts. However, the fact that they did come into the country without proper documentation, paperwork, and or authorization makes them, in fact, criminals. The same way one who would run a stop sign would be a criminal. Only thing I would say in the caveat in this is that when we're talking about someone running a stop sign, that doesn't mean you have to get out of the state, but that does mean you did break that state's law or that municipality's law, and now rules will be imposed upon you. The administration now is basically saying, hey, if you came into the country illegally, then you have to leave because you committed a crime. When it comes to the, and we'll continue this really quickly, ladies and gentlemen, but when it comes to the situation and or the scenario of when we're talking about people who have received asylum excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, when we're talking about people who have received asylum and are waiting for court, a lot of these people, their asylum orders have been vacated, or they don't have a stay order any longer. So yes, some people were granted asylum under a previous administration. Those orders are being, so it was temporary asylum. Some of those orders are being re-looked at, and a lot of people are not being given asylum any longer because you can't flee from economic disparity from your country to get asylum in the United States. So the reason or the criterion which a lot of people applied for or received asylum is no longer in effect. But we will continue because now we're actually going to talk about what people are actually doing in response to what they believe is right or wrong.
Right now, they're doing more to spread fear, and that is, and they're not keeping everybody safe. You know, they're trying to say that they're keeping us safe by arresting a seamstress in the fashion district.
The LAPD, they tell us they went in and just
really quickly, I didn't want to pause that again, but when he said they say they're keeping us safe by arresting a seamstress in the fashion district, well, here's the thing. I don't know who this seamstress is. I don't know what crime. I don't even know if it's a man or a woman, but since it's a seamstress, we're going to assume that it's a woman. I don't know what crimes she may or may not have done in her country, because here's the thing. When we look at the case of Lincoln Riley, when we look at Larisha Thompson, hopefully I'm saying her name correctly, but when we look at some of these people who were killed by illegal aliens, illegal immigrants, excuse me, when we look at these people, a lot of these people were working at the lumber yards, or they had jobs and various things in the community, but that doesn't mean that they didn't commit violent and felonious events in their country, and they're not prone to violence and or have a propensity to violence. That doesn't mean that just because they're working as a seamstress or working as the crossing guard or whatever they're doing in this country now. People have a past, people have propensities to do things, and we need to know who these people are. Just to say that you're a seamstress and so inherently you're not dangerous, that's a false equivalency and or a false dichotomy. But we will continue.
No one was arrested in Chinatown. Now, chaos erupted earlier on Friday in the heart of the fashion district after ICE detained employees inside a clothing warehouse. Protesters threw objects at armed agents and then tried to block their armored trucks from leaving, those agents deploying tear gas and pepper spray. Hundreds of protesters then swarmed the Los Angeles Federal Building, where they believed the detainees were being held. Some of the crowd attacking law enforcement guarding the facility. More confrontation and chaos ensued, and tensions remained high into the evening. The LAPD declared an unlawful assembly and ordered people to disperse. Outside of the federal building, a teacher got emotional as she talked about seeing ICE agents carry out an operation at a Home Depot in the Westlake district earlier in the day.
This morning, I woke up early to get ready for my students' culmination. I'm Chiona, I'm sorry, y'all. It was supposed to be a good day. 3 blocks away, I saw day laborers running from our local Home Depot. I took off my heels, grabbed my megaphone, and ran in that direction. What I found devastated me. The food stands were empty. It was a ghost town.
The LAPD says it had nothing to do with the raids, but that it did respond to requests to help maintain order. LA Police Chief Jim McDonald.
Before we get into what Jim McDonald said, just a comment to what she said. It wasn't supposed to be a good day. It actually was a good day, because you know what? Now we have made the streets of the United States just that much safer. We did do that, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I know people are going to argue and say, well, Chusta, Americans commit crimes too. You're right, they do. So now, since we have people who do commit crimes and belong here, should we continue to bring people who we don't know and possibly can also commit crimes? And now we're just compounding and or exacerbating the problem. Again, I don't know if you've seen the young woman who was set on fire on the subway by an illegal immigrant who had previously been deported. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but I saw that video, and you know what, ladies and gentlemen, I have been tired of this. So My heartstrings are not pulling to these people because I saw Palestinian flags and I saw Mexican flags and various other countries' flags. But I do know I am in America, and you see the flag behind me, which is an American flag. I know as an American, I cannot freely go to any other country and wave my American flag without provocation. I know I can't do that. So I don't understand how people are telling me that they are so proud to be who they are. They're so proud of their country. They're willing to wave the flag of their country, but yet you won't go back to your country and fight the oppression there. You will fight the police officers of the United States. You will accost agents of the United States because you believe what the United States is doing to you is wrong, but yet you won't go to your own home country and do the same thing there. I wonder why not, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're going to get into what the police chief said. And if you guys know a little bit about me and you guys follow me on X, you guys know Operation Plain Sight was something that we were implementing a long time ago. And just shout out to the agents who are, you see, the federal agents didn't have anything to do with the Home Depot raid. However, local law enforcements in a few municipalities, the sheriffs and a few other agencies will do roundups at Home Depots in various surrounding areas. We call it Operation Plain Sight. That's neither here nor there. I tell you, it's somewhere. More than likely it's on X. It's probably on Rumble. Hopefully you're subscribed. But let's listen to what the captain had to say. The police chief had to say, excuse me.
Statement on the raid saying, quote, "I want to make it clear the LAPD is not involved in civil immigration enforcement. While the LAPD will continue to have a visible presence in all our communities to ensure public safety, we will not assist or participate in any sort of mass deportations, nor will the LAPD try to determine an individual's immigration status."
Ladies and gentlemen, I kind of want to break down that statement right there, and I might even go back so we can actually hear it and go over it verbatim. But what the police chief just said is that they want to maintain, on the later end of that statement, he said they want to maintain public safety, but he also said that they are not going to assist federal and or ICE agents in deportation. So how are you keeping and you're going to keep a presence in the streets? So what's the point of being there? And you say you're going to keep the public safe, but yet you're not doing anything to assist other agents or other law enforcement officers in their job, which we have determined is a necessity in keeping the American public safe, which is deporting all illegal immigrants. So how are you keeping or maintaining the status quo of safety when we know illegal immigrants are causing listen, ladies and gentlemen, people are going to say immigrants don't commit that much crime. That's a lie. Immigrants commit more crime than what people realize because they're undocumented and we don't know who you are. So if you're using a fake name, an alias, or someone else's social security number, in instance, you can commit 5 to 10 crimes and we think you were various different people, yet you were one person committing the same crime. So when people say, oh, no, it's not that, no. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we all seen the illegal nightclubs that the illegal immigrants are running. When you have unsanctioned and illegal nightclubs and various things like that, we know prostitution, we know drugs, and we know a lot of different things come with those type of environments. It just comes with the territory, ladies and gentlemen. So I don't understand how law enforcement isn't assisting federal law enforcement, but they say they're going to keep the citizens safe. Safe from what then? So now what you're telling me is that if someone, an illegal immigrant, is committing a crime, more than likely you're not going to do anything about it. But yet if an American citizen is committing a crime, well then therefore you're going to take that citizen to jail or you're going to intervene. Let's just finish out this segment, ladies and gentlemen, and then just finish out what they have to say. I might bring you a few more things in with this, and then we'll just end this segment as it is.
People were taken into custody during those raids on Friday. Another person was arrested for obstruction, and there are reports that more protests are planned for today. We're working to confirm that information. Also, Mayor Karen Bass says she's holding an emergency meeting with immigration groups on Monday to talk about what happened and what's next for the city. Live in the newsroom, Elise Martinez, back to you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll end that right there. And you heard that. So what you didn't hear was, you heard that in the raid, some people were arrested in the raid, but what you didn't hear was protesters being arrested for accosting officers. I heard in one of the segments where protesters attacked the agents for not letting the people come through. They were blocking traffic and blocking the vehicles of the ICE agents and the federal agents. I didn't hear protesters being arrested. Ladies and gentlemen, look at what's going on in our streets, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the violence. Look at the amount of unrest and unruly that's going on. Similar to Black Lives Matter, ladies and gentlemen, where you had buildings being burned, people were losing their livelihoods, small businesses were being vandalized, burglarized, and various things of that nature, and yet almost no arrests were being made by the people who were doing this to the patrons and the taxpayers of the communities. Because now we're going to say that if I'm a taxpayer and I have a business and I'm a patron, the majority of these people in this case are illegal immigrants. What are they contributing to society, ladies and gentlemen? People are, well, illegal immigrants pay taxes. Well, not if you don't work, you don't. Because illegal immigrants can actually, in California, they can get food stamp and SNAP and all these government benefits, and they don't have to put anything into society. They can extrapolate from a society or from a system which they have put nothing into, ladies and gentlemen. That is the true fact of the matter. And in some local instances, they allow undocumented immigrants to vote. And people are going to say, no, Chusta, that's not true. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you what they're doing. It's not supposed to happen. Just because it's not supposed to happen doesn't mean that it isn't happening, ladies and gentlemen. I think I've told you in a previous segment that your belief doesn't change the veracity, only your level of preparedness. So again, ladies and gentlemen, we see what's going on in our streets. We see the various flags being flown in our countries. We see the amount of civil unrest that's going on. And here's the crazy thing, ladies and gentlemen, that I don't understand why most people don't get. The people that are doing this are not American citizens. The people that are doing this do not have a stake in the game. They don't have teeth in this game. They didn't put anything into this society. And I don't want to go back down memory lane. Hold on, Marty. We're not going back to the future. Don't tell me, oh, well, this was stolen land and this and this and this and this. Shut the hell up. We're not doing that. You know what? If it is stolen land, then guess what? You lost the war. You shouldn't have got jacked, stupid. That's what happened. Blame your great-great-granddaddy for letting my great-great-granddaddy and some other people come and go upside his head and take his shit. He should have been able to fight. That's what happened. Because guess what? We're not allowing y'all to come over here and take our shit. You can take your Marxist ideology. You can take all the viewpoints that you think you have, and you can take them back to your own country. That's what you can do. Because Americans are no longer standing for this. We are not, ladies and gentlemen. So I always tell you to remain positive and stay productive. And in the current situation and in the current climate, it's hard sometimes, but I tell you to remain vigilant. So as always, stay positive, stay productive. Remember, local elections are more important than national elections, but dollars are stronger than votes. They won't stop until we stop them. Liberation comes at a cost. Who's willing to pay for it?
I'm from outer space, I got Milky Way for blood, evolution in my veins. I'm gone, I've been far away, I'm illuminated, now I make a move, start waves, I've been dreaming